Hi, it's Lauren here from You Are Nourished. I hope you are well. I am here for a Q&A, Ask Me Anything session. I ran one of these yesterday on my Instagram page, on my IG Live, which for anyone who turned up live would have been able to enjoy the whole thing. However, when I then uploaded it onto my main Instagram page, there was no sound. So for anyone who wanted to watch the replay, they couldn't do that. So I've decided to run this again on Facebook. I'll be covering quite a few of the questions that came in yesterday for anybody who missed those, because I think they're quite universal questions that a lot of people will have about the Shift to Sugar challenge in general, and also some other health and nutrition types of questions. If you are watching and joining me, do say hello. And if you've got any questions, do feel free to pop them in the comments box below and I will get to them. In case you didn't know, my challenge begins on Monday, which is in 4 days. I can't believe I just had to count that on my fingers. 4 days time. So yes, the challenge kicks off Monday the 4th of October. Very, very excited, very exciting. We are going to spend a whole week together. You're going to learn how to manage your cravings, start a healthier relationship with food, get over some of that mindset, all or nothing kind of approach to food that a lot of people have. We're going to be learning about my kind of 3 core pillars of nourishment, which are nourish your body, nourish your mind, and nourish yourself. And I'll be covering all of this in much more detail. Those are the topics of the workshops we will be going through next week, and the purpose of those is to show you the kind of the 3-pronged attack that we need in order to achieve kind of total nourishment in body and mind, and why all of them are important in helping us to have a healthier relationship with food, greater well-being, and manage our cravings, which ultimately is what next week's challenge is all about. So some of the questions, I'm going to hop through some of the questions that I covered in my IG Live yesterday, in case you missed it, or in case you tried to watch the replay but couldn't because there was no sound. That wasn't frustrating at all. Can I also just say, is anyone else freezing? I'm so cold. What has happened to the weather? I'm like really freezing, and all I have is hoodie. So we're going to be seeing this quite a lot over the next couple of weeks. Just want to wrap up, but I'm refusing to put the heating on until tomorrow. When it's actually October. Fun. Alrighty, let's crack on with some questions. So one of the questions that came in, and I think this is relevant for quite a lot of people that are coming into the challenge, is will I cover binge eating? And what I kind of highlighted yesterday was that there is a spectrum of, obviously, this is the moment at which my dog decides that he wants to go out. It's now scratching at the back door. So bear with me whilst I open the door for him to let him out into the garden. I am still here. And I now have to sit here with the door open, freezing. So binge eating. Yes, I know that a lot of people coming into the challenge struggle with this, but there is a spectrum of binge eating, which goes from, kind of overeating a little bit when you haven't had quite enough to eat during the day, or you're feeling a bit sad and emotional, to full binge eating disorder. There is disordered eating, and there is an eating disorder. I am not, in full transparency, because I don't want you thinking that, I can cure everything, not qualified to help you manage your eating disorders. That is something that you would need to seek different professional guidance on. So if you feel or believe that you have binge eating disorder, then that is something I would recommend that you go and speak to your GP about, or go and speak to another professional eating disorder therapist about. When we're talking about disordered eating, that is more the realm of what I cover, and that really is around just having quite a poor relationship with food, and that can result in binging. Now, binging can take, various different forms. For a lot of people, it's, you know, not hugely severe, and that's the kind of the range that I will be dealing with, that can be rectified with some simple lifestyle and mindset changes, many of which we'll be going through next week. So there are kind of physiological and physical reasons why somebody might binge, and that might just simply be that you're not eating enough food, you're not eating enough calories, you're eating very low fat food, and you're genuinely just hungry, and that is going to cause you to want to eat a lot of food in a short space of time because you are starving. And the other is because you don't have very good coping mechanisms for your stress and your emotions, and you're not providing yourself with any other form of, you know, emotional support or self-care, or you have kind of a poor stress response, which is very, very common, and you resort to food to manage your emotions and overeat in that sense. So we will be covering that more kind of, you know, emotional, physiological side of things in the challenge. I do have an extra workshop on emotional eating and overcoming emotional eating, which if you've signed up for the challenge, you may have seen once you'd signed up for it as an extra add-on. If you're watching this and you are interested in purchasing that additional overcome emotional eating workshop, and then we can get that to you. So that's the kind of what I wanted to talk about with regards to, you know, binging. And it's not something that I'm going to be necessarily covering in a session, but what you will find is when you apply a lot of the tools that I'll be teaching next week, that binging does lessen. And a lot of the women who've come into this process with me over the years have really found that those episodes have gone away, because they're eating properly, they're nourishing their body, they're getting the nutrients their body actually needs to function well, and they're not starving, they're not nutrient deficient, so they're not kind of craving and obsessing about food, and they've healed that all or nothing mindset around food. So you don't have that kind of you know, the thing is with binging, it's never broccoli, is it? You don't go on a broccoli binge. It's always crisps, chocolates, you know, high fat, high sugar, high salt, high crunch types of foods, because they do set off, you know, a particular response in the brain. But because these foods are so demonized and so you know, forbidden, that those are the ones that we want to you know, that we end up binging on. I'm going to now close the back door so that I'm not sitting here freezing. Excuse the bang. So I hope that's clarified that one. There's a question coming here from Wendy, which is, do vitamins and supplements actually make it into your system? That's an interesting question. It totally depends. Not all vitamins and supplements are created equal, and some of them are just expensive urine, and some of them are incredibly effective. When you are working with a qualified nutritional therapist who prescribes you a supplement plan based on your medical history and your case history that you've come to them with, then you will get very, very high quality supplements that many have been tested, and they are, you know, in the purest form, you know, therapeutic dosages. And in those cases, in, you know, my experience, having worked as a nutritional therapist for many years, we see incredible results, and having used them myself, I have seen incredible results using the right supplements. If you're going into your local high street chemist, your local supermarket, and buying own brand, they often have a lot of fillers, which don't particularly make it into your system, or they're very low dosage. So it's just one of those, you know, not all supplements are created equal, and you want to get the very best quality you can. I would always, always, always recommend that if you want to take supplements, that you see a nutritional therapist who is qualified to provide you with the right ones for you and your needs, and not just go sort of willy-nilly buying things that, you know, you've seen because there was an article in the Daily Mail about them, or what have you. So, all right. Then another question that came up was, I've done a 5-day sugar-free, done 5 days sugar-free before. Do we give up coffee? I found the headaches crushing. So I totally hear you on that front. And my advice is that if you're eliminating or reducing your sugar intake during this challenge, and you do also drink a reasonable words out amount of caffeine, tea, coffee, to not go cold turkey on the tea and coffee as well, because you will get a crushing headache, you will get withdrawal symptoms, you will get fatigue, you can feel quite nauseous, and it's just not worth feeling so awful. So I would definitely recommend that rather than going cold turkey on two quite potent stimulants that you just choose one or the other. So if you're going down the sugar-free or reducing your sugar intake, I would gradually look to start reducing your caffeine intake over, the coming weeks, as opposed to just doing it all in one go. So if you drink 4 or 5, cups of tea and coffee a day, maybe look to do 3 or 4, and then wait a few days and then bring it down to 2 or 3. And you can quite comfortably land on having two caffeinated drinks a day. That's absolutely fine. But I would look to be reducing that slowly. Similarly, if you add sugar to your tea and coffee, and I used to, there's no way I would have even been able to contemplate drinking tea or coffee without sugar, but now I don't at all. But I reduced it gradually. So I went from having like a heaped teaspoon to half a teaspoon to a quarter of a teaspoon to cutting it out completely. And now I don't have it at all. And I don't like it. I don't really feel like I need it. So again, if you're looking to reduce added sugar in foods, do that gradually, because it helps your palate to adjust as well. So that's the advice on caffeine. Don't do it all at once, because you will feel really quite rotten as a result. All right, some other questions that came in. So one that I get quite a lot is, if the challenge works, why do people come back and do it again? And it's a really fair question. But listen, let's be real here. It's 5 days, and you might have decades worth of habits that you want to address. And best will in the world, I ain't going to change your complete life. It's a very life-changing experience, but we're not necessarily going to overhaul absolutely everything that you've ever experienced in the space of 5 days. You will learn a lot. And once you have that knowledge, no one can take that knowledge away from you. Once you have those tools, you can come back to them again and again and again. No one can take those away from you. But let's face it, life gets in the way. You leave the challenge with a huge amount of momentum and motivation, and you can carry on at your own pace should you wish. But life gets in the way, things happen, birthdays, holidays, and what have you, and people feel kind of derailed and want a little bit of a booster, a reset, whatever you want to call it. The other thing is that, every single time I do this challenge, and I've been running it since 2017, it's slightly different. No 2 challenges have been the same. I run the Q&As completely live. I run the workshops completely live. Nothing is pre-recorded. So I'm not just farming out the same thing year after year. You're getting, new researched information, new things that, oh my God, the dog is now looking to go outside again. He really does pick his moments. Woody, come here. You can wait. So, each time I deliver the workshops and the Q&As, you come with different questions. So I've got different things to answer. I might have read, a book or trained in something else in the last time that I've ran a challenge. And so I'm always bringing, new my own knowledge and my new experiences to the challenge as well. Here we go. Somebody wants to say hello. Hello, Woody. Here we go. So they're always different, and you will learn something different every time you come to the challenge. And I know lots of people who come back and go, I learn something new each time. And that's, because we have a huge wide community. Everyone comes with different questions that for me to answer. So there is that. Also different recipes. So you've got that, to try. And also, the community, yeah, he's generally a good boy. The power of the community, the power of being in a community of like-minded people. I know a lot of people who come into this process thinking that they're the only people struggling with their issues and that nobody else has these problems. And then suddenly you go into a community of thousands of people who go, yeah, I struggle with this too, and you don't feel alone. So the support from myself, from my mentors, from the wider community who are struggling with these issues makes you feel like you belong. And it really is, an incredible community, atmosphere and experience of support. You feel very, very supported during the week as well. So that's another reason why people come back, time and time again to do it over and over again. Right, he's now really annoying me, so I'm gonna have to let him out again. I am here. I am still here. Oh, Woody, you really did pick your moments. He had a really good run around this morning. Well, about lunchtime. He's had a little sleep, but now he's in that sort of annoying afternoon phase. Anyone who has a dog, you know the drill. The other question was, do you have to live sugar-free to not get your cravings back? Which again is a very fair question. You would imagine that, okay, we know we're not having sugar next week or reducing our sugar intake. The other thing I want to say is, you don't have to completely eliminate sugar completely next week, or ever, in fact. Because what I have found in my experience over the years is that if you do eliminate completely, chances of you then going on a bit of a binge when something in life happens are much higher than if you are including these foods as part of your daily routine with full permission to eat them all. So do you have to live sugar-free to not get your cravings back? For some people, again, it can depend on the person. For some people, just having a bite of something can set off, a cascade of going hell for leather with all kinds of food. So it just depends on the person and your kind of existing relationship with food. But the thing is that abstinence, complete abstinence from sugar, is not realistic. It's not sustainable. So you can't live your life turning up to a birthday party and saying no to cake, or going on holiday and saying no to ice cream, or just saying no to everything all the time, because it's just going to make you feel deprived. And I'm very much about not being deprived or feeling deprived around food. So the answer is no, you do not need to live your life, nor should you live your life sugar-free. We live in a world surrounded by sugary foods, and it's really, really difficult to completely avoid them. But what we do is we teach you to have a healthier relationship with sugary food, so that you're not living in this all or nothing, and you're learning how to choose foods based on multiple different values in terms of how they make you feel. So whether they make you feel emotionally kind of satiated, or whether they actually kind of fill you up and make you feel nourished from a nutritional perspective. So again, we'll be covering all that off next week. Again, like I said, if you're watching, you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. And then finally, there was another question, which was, is it possible to change habits for good? I'm good for 6 months and then fall off the wagon. So that's really, really, really common. And it is absolutely possible to change your habits for good. You can change your habits. The problem we have is that quite often we're trying to just do too much at once. And quite often when you start a new health program, a new health regime, a diet or an exercise, a fitness regime or something like that, is that you can be really, really enthusiastic in the beginning, but ultimately it's not sustainable in the long term, because it takes up too much time. It eats into your work day. You're having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're having to spend hours prepping food every week, and actually it's just not realistic or sustainable. So when it comes to changing habits, you need to do them really small, start really small and start really slowly, and that might not be as exciting as starting some new boot camp or a 30-day whatever, but actually it's going to be much more long lasting, and you will be able to maintain those habits. And the other thing is ensuring that the habits that you are trying to sustain are actually in alignment with what you really want, and that you have a really good why as to why you're doing it. If you're exercising and you're just completely unmotivated to exercise, you don't enjoy what you're doing, but you're doing it because it's supposed to be good for you, you're not going to stick at it, because you'll just find yourself creating all the excuses under the sun not to do it, because actually you don't enjoy it, you don't get anything out of it, and you're not really seeing the results. Whereas if you find something that you really enjoy, it does give you the results that you're looking for in body and mind, then you're much more likely to stick to something. Shut the door again. Guaranteed in 30 seconds we'll be standing by that back door again, pouring at it to get outside. So yes, that's when it comes to healthy habits, there's a lot. We do this a lot inside my membership. So that's the long-term stuff, understanding the framework for creating a healthy habit, and being in alignment with your values around those kind of habits and behaviors. So there's a lot of mindset stuff involved in changing your habits. It's simple but not easy. or it's easy but not simple. You know what I mean? They kind of take some work. But once you've kind of got the hang of it and you have got the commitment and the consistency, then absolutely, yes, you can change your habits for good. Question from Sharon: are dates good and healthy when you get a craving? I only ever buy them at Christmas. Yes, and you'll find on our Shift to Sugar plan, we often include dates. In our energy balls, we've got dates in them. We combine them. I mean, they are quite a high sugar food, but then fruits generally are, dried fruits are a lot. But they do have fiber and some vitamins and minerals, and we tend to combine them with a source of protein or a healthy fat to help reduce how quickly that glucose gets released into the bloodstream. So yeah, I tend to get medjool dates. So if you've got the meal plan for Shift to Sugar, you'll see that there are medjool dates on the meal plan for making the energy balls. But that, again, they're combined with nuts so that it, helps to make them a more balanced snack. So yeah, they're absolutely fine. I'm really not about demonizing foods. There are certain foods that don't really need to have a regular place in our diets, and I'll be talking more about those probably next week, and based on the questions that we get coming through. But ultimately, we want to look to have a balanced approach to food, and that means predominantly eating foods that exist in nature, and there being room for foods that don't exist in nature as well, but kind of having that kind of healthier relationship. So you do need to start thinking, which foods you demonize, which foods you've been told are bad, which foods you've been told are naughty, because it just creates a more powerful emotional charge around that food. When you think about it, foods don't contain emotions. There's nothing more emotional in an egg than there is in a bar of chocolate. It's the emotions that we place on those foods that give them their emotional charge and that make us kind of, either desperate for them or not. So there's a lot. We'll be covering a lot of that next week. So thank you for joining me on this extra Ask Me Anything session. Like I've said, head to this link here to sign up for the challenge if you haven't done that yet. The Facebook group is absolutely buzzing already. There's hundreds of you in there already, all sharing your stories, so you can see that you're not alone. So many people in there. I'm so excited to welcome everybody into the group. I will be back here tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a live prep along, so I'm going to have all my equipment in my kitchen, and we're going to be creating a couple of the recipes from the Shift to Sugar meal plan, showing you some simple meal prep. Because that really does make life so much easier on this challenge, and in general, it's a brilliant habit for you to get into. So doing a little bit of meal prep tomorrow, live on camera, which will be fun, which I'm really, really looking forward to. That's going to be at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Friday. So make sure you join me for that. And if you have not joined the challenge yet, then please do. It's the last time I am going to be running it this year, and at this price. So grab a bargain. It's only $5 and it will genuinely change your life. All right. Wishing you a fantastic day, and I will catch you back here tomorrow. Take care. Bye.